Man, after this G1, I'm gonna get so much sleep, it's gonna be incredible. What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? This is Tempest from WrestleTalk.com, and I bring you this week's WrestleTalk Recap. This, of course, is the weekly show where I break down the news and notes of professional wrestling and bring you up to speed on everything you may have missed on all of our YouTube channels. The match of the week this week could be a toss-up between two excellent matches, but I'm going to go with Kota Ibushi versus Minoru Suzuki from G1 Climax Day 13. What a birthday gift this was, as this match was absolutely fantastic. An excellent striking battle between two of wrestling's best. It got 5.25 stars from Dave Meltzer, an indication that this is one of the very best matches of the entire year. The show of the week is G1 Climax Day 13. Not content with just one excellent match, this show had a number of them. Shingo Takagi versus Kazuchika Okada also got 5.25 stars. It was the main event, and it was, as you can tell, bloody freaking fantastic. Also on the show was Will Ospreay versus Taichi and Jeff Cobb versus Tomohiro Ishii, rounding out an absolutely fantastic card, maybe the best of the whole year. Moving over to the news now, there were a few news stories this week. First and foremost, Lars Sullivan returned on Smackdown last week and found himself in trouble once again. Sullivan is accused of sending inappropriate messages to a woman on Instagram. A report says WWE is aware of this news, and he has very few supporters left in the WWE locker room. Then, of course, the biggest news of the week in WWE is the WWE Draft. Some of the picks were good, some of the picks were bad, but the entire landscape of WWE has changed once again, at least until next month when they all face each other for Survivor Series. Finally, Finn Balor may or may not be stripped of the NXT Championship, and it all depends on how fast he's able to recover from his broken jaw. Moving over to this week's shows, Raw was focused on the WWE Draft. The first round saw The Fiend, Randy Orton, and Charlotte Flair all move over to Raw, while the Street Profits and Bayley moved to SmackDown. The pick everyone's talking about is Retribution being drafted to Raw, of course begging the question of why you would want anarchists on your own show when their whole mission objective is to destroy said show. I don't write this shit, man, I don't know. On Wednesday, we had NXT, and of course the show is a little bit up in the air right now, given the state of its current champion. The big match of the week was a North American Championship match between Damian Priest and Dexter Lumis. Lumis will now transition into a feud with the fantastic Cameron Grimes as he continues to hope to shoot himself right to the moon. Then over on AEW, you had their anniversary show, which featured 4 championship matches. While there was an abundance of title matches, there were no title changes, as FTR was able to defend the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Best Friends. Cody and Orange Cassidy went to a draw for the TNT Championship. Hikaru Shida defended the AEW Women's Championship against Big Swole. And in the main event, Jon Moxley was able to defeat Lance Archer to retain the AEW World Championship.
Most of the new SmackDown roster was standing on the stage, plus Raw's Braun Strowman, plus Raw's Sheamus, plus Raw's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and without SmackDown's Roman Reigns. Okay, so some of the roster were on the stage.
It is now time for the G1 Climax Report. It's getting better. Our G1 Climax coverage for the week started with the fantastic Day 13, which saw Jeff Cobb defeat Tomohiro Ishii, Jay White defeat Yujiro Takahashi, Will Ospreay defeat Taichi, Kota Ibushi defeat Minoru Suzuki, and Kazuchika Okada defeat Shingo Takagi. Then on Day 14, you had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Yoshihashi, Kenta defeated Toru Yano, Sonata defeated Juice Robinson, Haruki Goto defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi, and in the main event, Evil defeated his former Los Ingobernables de Japón leader, Tetsuya Naito. Moving over to Day 15, you had Jeff Cobb defeating Will Ospreay, Kota Ibushi defeating Yujiro Takahashi, Taichi defeating Shingo Takagi, Jay White defeating Minoru Suzuki, and in the main event, Kazuchika Okada defeated his fellow Chaos Brethren, Tomohiro Ishii. Then on Day 16, you had Kenta defeating Yoshihashi, Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Juice Robinson, Tetsuya Naito defeating Toru Yano, Evil defeating Haruki Goto, and in the main event, Sonata defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi in another fantastic match. Then finally on Day 17, the A-Block final, you had Yujiro Takahashi picking up his first win over Jeff Cobb, Shingo Takagi defeated Minoru Suzuki, Will Ospreay defeated Kazuchika Okada, Kota Ibushi defeated Taichi, and in the main event, Tomohiro Ishii defeated Jay White, meaning that Kota Ibushi will be moving on to the G1 Climax final this Sunday. And now a word from our G1 correspondent. Okay, Chelsea, the G1 Climax final is this Sunday. Who do you think's gonna win? It will be Kota Ibushi or Sonata? Thank you, Chelsea. Moving on over to WrestleTalk.com, there were a number of good features this week written by our lovely staff, but first and foremost, you need to go and check out Liam Winnard's list of every single WWE draft pick graded. Back over on YouTube, you had Adam Blampier's latest list, an updated list of one he's done previously, his 10 favorite WWE matches.
In a different time and a different place, I wrote a list of my favorite WWE matches of all time. I am definitely older, hopefully wiser, and I have less head.
It was a big week for Parts Fun No. Not only was Fast Feuds introduced with the first episode, Hogan vs. Savage in about 3 minutes, but also you had Quizzlemania 20, Mr. Davis, Lukewarm Luke Owen versus Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, the Good Brothers.
I want you to do a good impression of how we just asked it.
How many rounds are there? They're on my show.
There's a reason why Gallows laughed.
And of course, here on Wrestle2, you had the continued coverage of the G1 Climax with myself, Tempest, and Randy Andy Datsun, as well as the return of housemate Simon with Screen Grapple, and Ricky Starks being interviewed by our one and only Nugget, Louis Dangor.
I felt like I belonged there in that ring. Point blank. I felt like I belonged in that ring with Cody.
Make sure you subscribe to go and be a pledge hammer over on our Patreon page, where you can check out the latest review from Mr. Davis and Lukewarm Luke Owen, that being Halloween Havoc 1995. And now for something completely different. Are you subscribed to Phenomena Nerds? Well, you should be. If you have any interest in getting into board games, or if you want to figure out more board games to pick up and add to your collection. We had a big week this week as Adam Blampier listed 10 co-op games to add to your collection. Luke Owen broke down whether Monopoly was actually good, and Lori Blake explained the theory behind co-op gaming. Coming up this week on all of our YouTube channels, you of course have your weekly news and notes in pro wrestling, as well as the G1 Climax Final with myself and Randy Andy Datsun providing our live reactions. That's coming up this Sunday on Wrestle2. And that just about wraps it up for me. I've been Tempest from WrestleTalk.com. This has been the WrestleTalk Recap. Make sure you give it a like, a subscribe, ring that bell, and make sure you share this on Instagram and Twitter. Our Instagram is at WrestleTalk.official. Our Twitter is at WrestleTalk_TV. You can follow me on Twitter at TempestWT, and I will see you next time.